Welcome to the module on basics of interview techniques. In the previous module, we have talked about the introduction of interview techniques, where we talked about the skill sets required and the signages of good interviews, bad interviews, how to behave, what should be your physical presentations, how should your attire should be for attending an interview, and so on. Now, from now onwards, to be specific, we will be dealing more on technical question and answer sessions. Today, we will be talking about highway engineering, specifically in soil, that too in the QA/QC department. What are the possible questions you can get as far as the quality control department is concerned? There are three sets of questions which are being answered in this particular module. There could be many more. So if you have any questions which are different from these set of questions which are being asked in this particular module, do write those questions in the comment box, and we ensure that it will be covered in my upcoming modules. What is an interview? An interview is essentially a structured conversation where one participant asks questions and the other provides the answer. So in common parlance, the word interview refers to a one-to-one conversation between an interviewer and an interviewee. The interviews usually takes place face-to-face or in person. In simple words, an interview is a conversation where somebody is trying to get information from another person about their knowledge on a particular subject. The person asking question is the interviewer and the person answering the questions is the interviewee. Researchers use an interview to ask people to find how they feel or what they know about something. Similarly, the industries conduct interviews to select their workforce in order to actually get the work done in the right manners, whether the competency of that particular person who is being selected is fit for that particular job or not. And there are other types like you can have the leaders being interviewed in order to comment or give their opinion on a particular issues. So today we will be talking about especially the corporate interviews, where the corporate industries select people to check their competencies on a particular subject and offer them the right position in the industries. Today we will be covering the possible questions which can be asked in quality control department, especially in highway engineering, related to say soil or aggregate, bitumen. If you see the layers, it can be a GSB layer, it can be a wet mix macadam layer, or it can be a concrete layers. So in the subsequent modules, we will be covering each one as one set of modules with number of questions, the probable questions, and what could be the possible answers, and how your answers will lead to the results which is expected or anticipated as an outcome of the interview. Today we will be focusing more on the soil part, like what are the possible questions one can ask in soil. In this particular module we have three set of questions incorporated. The basic questions, of course, but more confusing if not understood properly. In the first set we will be asking four questions. Like the first question is, how do we ensure the suitability of soil for use in embankment? Or how to check the suitability of soil for road work? Which property of embankment or soil changes while checking the suitability for subgrade? And how to get the FSI values of soil quickly in the project site, because normally you don't have much time to wait for 24 hours to get the accurate results, but to get a projected result of FSI, you can always have perform a quick test. So what is that quick test is all about? So to start with, like we will answer each question in the subsequent slides to come. Like for example, how do we ensure the suitability of soil for use in embankment? If this is the question, you have been given two things in this particular question which are controlling the answer. One is suitability of soil and second is embankment. That means you have been asked to describe in particular for an embankment what is the suitability requirement for a soil. So to answer these questions, one is you need to conduct a Proctor test, which is again depending upon the height of the embankment. The maximum dry density value, commonly known as MDD, should be 1.52 times 1.52 kilonewtons per cubic meter for a height which is less than 3 meters, and it is 16.0 kilonewtons per cubic meter for a height more than 3 meters. So this is the first criteria which one has to fulfill in order to make the soil suitable for embankment. The second is the Atterberg's test, which is basically the liquid limit and the plastic limit of the soil, and the difference between the liquid limit and the plastic limit will give you the plasticity index. So the criteria for a soil to be suitable is your liquid limit should be less than 50 and plasticity index should be less than 25. This is the second criteria one has to maintain in order to make the soil suitable for embankment. The third is free swelling index, which is basically a swelling index of the soil under free conditions, is being tested as per IS 2720 part 40, and the limit for this test is 50% maximum. That means if the soil is having a FSI value more than 50%, that means the soil is not suitable for embankment, or we can say that the soil is not fit to be used as an embankment soil. And the fourth criteria which one has to fulfill is the particle size of the material or the soil particles should be less than 75 millimeters. That means the maximum size of the particle which one can fill as an embankment soil is 75 millimeters or less. It cannot be more than 75 millimeters. So these are the few requirements as per the MoRTH revision 5 that one has to fulfill in order to make sure that the soil is suitable for embankment. On the similar conditions, if you have been asked to check the suitability of soil for road work, like it is not specific that whether it is for embankment or subgrade, you have been asked to check the suitability of the soil for the road works. When it is being asked specifically for road work, that means this soil can be used for embankment as well as subgrade. So the test which one has to conduct in order to make sure that the soil is suitable for embankment or subgrade is the Proctor test, from which you will get the maximum dry density and the optimum moisture content, the free swelling index, the liquid limit by Casagrandes or cone penetration methods, plastic limit, grain size analysis, which will generally give you the silt, clay and silt proportion, 75 micron passing, and then the California bearing ratio, that is the CBR of the soil. Based on these criteria, you can check whether the soil is suitable for subgrade or the soil is suitable for embankment. If it is only used for embankment, then the criteria given for MDD should meet as per the embankment requirement. If it is required only for subgrade, then the criteria given for soil to be used as subgrade shall be met as far as the MDD requirement is concerned, that is 1.75 grams per cc. Liquid limit is again say 25. Plastic limit, grain size, liquid limit is 50. Plastic limit is 25. Grain size analysis will indicate the percentage passing 75 micron. So based on the percentage passing 75 micron, you can get an idea about the drainage properties of the soil and the swelling index. Like if the portion of clay is more, that means it is having a MDD less and it is bound to swell. And if the clay content is more, then probably you will have the CBR value also less. So these are the tests. You can specifically tell that if it is only asked for road work without asking you specifically about embankment or subgrade, then you can describe the test which has to be conducted in order to check the suitability of the soil. In the next probable questions could be which property of embankment soil changes while checking the suitability for subgrade. We know that for embankment we need Proctor test, liquid limit, plastic limit, FSI, gradation. These are the tests required for embankment. For subgrade, the additional test which is required to be done is basically the CBR test. So first point is the test to be conducted is CBR, which is not generally being carried out in embankment. But sometimes people ask for to conduct a CBR of embankment also, because you need to, when you need to calculate the effective CBR, you need to know the top 500 mm thickness of the embankment top, what is the CBR of that particular material. And the second thing which is generally changed is for embankment you need the particle size of 75 millimeters, whereas for subgrade you have particle size of 50 millimeters. So these are the two things which generally differ when you check the suitability of soil for subgrade. So basically we can say that when the soil is checked for subgrade, these are the two properties apart from MDD which requires additional attention in order to meet the specifications. How to get the FSI value of soil quickly in the project sites? Generally, we know that to check the FSI of the soil, you need at least 24 hours of time, because the samples which are being taken, that is 425 micron passing samples, has to be kept in two beakers, two cylindrical beakers, which is either one is in water and one is with kerosene. And under the undisturbed conditions, those samples needs to be kept for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, you need to check the change in volume of the soil in water, because the volume of soil in kerosene doesn't change. Kerosene being non-polar, there is no reaction, so the soil volume doesn't change in kerosene. So we take the volume of kerosene, volume in kerosene as 1, and then we calculate the difference in volume in terms of percentage. But when we need to do the same thing quickly, what is required is you need to put a little salt to expedite the result, because basically if you apply the salt, the settlement process is being expedited, and instead of waiting for 24 hours, you can get results quickly within 3 to 4 hours. And if you compare it with the natural or the conventional method of testing of FSI, then you realize that the change in results as compared to the quick test is very marginal and can be as accurate as 95%. Therefore, often we end up doing salt test as far as the FSI results is concerned, if we have to take a quick decision on the use of soil, whether to be used or not to be used. Because if the FSI is more than 50%, then straight away we can say that this is not suitable, because more the FSI, more is the swelling characteristics, and more is the chances of developing a crack on the surface. Now coming to the second set of questions, the second probable or the possible test of questions in quality department, again related to soil only, could be what is the maximum particle size allowed in embankment and what is the maximum particle size allowed in subgrade, or what is the percentage compaction required to pass the layer of embankment and subgrade. What is the difference between the Casagrandes and cone penetration method, and used for what purpose these two tests are? or what is the significance of free swelling index? Now to start with, what is the maximum particle size allowed in embankment and subgrade? As per MORTH revision 5, the maximum particle size allowed in embankment is 75 millimeters and the maximum particle size allowed in subgrade is 50 millimeters. So to give a precise answer, you can say for embankment it is 75 millimeters and for subgrade it is 50 millimeters. The next question is, what is the percentage compaction required to pass the layer of embankment or subgrade, or the layer of embankment and subgrade? In either cases, the percentage compaction required in embankment is 95% and the percentage compaction required in subgrade is 97%. You must keep this in mind that as you move up in the cross section of the road, the percentage compaction increases. So it is always 95% for embankment and 97% for compaction. And you possibly a leading question which can be asked along with this question is, how do you check, how do you ensure that you got a 95% compaction, or how do you ensure that you get a 97% compaction in subgrade? So that means you have to ensure by testing the layers of embankment or subgrade, which can be done by several methods, like it can be done with sand replacement method, it can be done with nuclear density gauge method, then it can be done with electrical density gauge method, and so on. So the questions related to those questions, those angles or those areas of works will be catered in the subsequent modules. But as a leading question with this answer, if you have something in mind, you can always add that in the chat box or in the comment box given below, so that those questions will be addressed in my upcoming modules. Next question, what generally is being asked is, what is the difference between the Casagrande and cone penetration method, and what is the use of these two tests, or what use for what purpose these tests are? So if you compare a Casagrande or a cone penetration method, Casagrande method is a drop test, whereas cone penetration method is a penetration test. In Casagrande, moisture content is measured for the soil which is closed by 13 millimeters if you cut a groove through it on a Casagrande's brass cup, which is being standardized in general. Whereas in cone penetration method, moisture content is measured for a penetration depth of say 20 millimeters. But in order to arrive at the 20 millimeters penetration depth, you need to check the moisture content at different depths and then interpolate it using the graph. And in case of a Casagrande's, in order to arrive at a right moisture content, that is moisture content corresponding to 25 blows to make the groove closed by 13 millimeters is being what is required to be measured. So what is being done is for each moisture content of soil, the instrument is rotated by revolving the knob, and the 13 millimeter closure is exactly pointed out at what drop. So number of drops corresponding to the 13 millimeter measure closure of groove is recorded. Then a graph is plotted between the moisture content and the number of blows, and you get some points which is less than 25 and points which is more than 25. So for a 25 millimeter, for a 25 drop value, the corresponding moisture content is being obtained from the graph. So that is what is basically the moisture content or moisture content of that particular soil sample. Now, these moisture contents are used to determine the liquid limit, which is a measure of liquid limit which is being measured at 25 drops in case of Casagrande, and in case of cone penetration, it is 20 millimeters. So basically, these two tests are being conducted to determine the liquid limit of the soil. The liquid limit of the soil using Casagrande is determined at 25 drops, and liquid limit of soil using cone penetration is determined at 20 millimeter penetration. The cone penetration is more suitable for fine grained soils, and as the fines are more towards the clay soils, the accuracy is better. Whereas the Casagrandes is generally used for sandy soils also. Basically, in the cone penetration, because it tries to penetrate through the soil and it is having a certain diameter and angle of repose, so cone formation. So the force of friction also has to play force of friction is also taking a major role in order to determine the penetration of that particular soil. So a lot depends upon the type of the soil when you are opting for cone penetration, but in case of Casagrandes, soil type or type of soil is not the governing factor to determine the liquid limit of the soil. The next question is, what is the significance of a free swelling index? If you see the significance is basically the index will measure the increase in volume with respect to the original volume of the soils. That is what is basically the free swell index gives, and it gives an indication on the probable CBR value of the soil which is being determined using the test, because if the FSI is more, definitely the CBR is going to be less. Second is FSI more than 50% is considered unsuitable for earthwork, so it is used to classify the soil whether it is suitable for embankment or suitable for road work or not. Then the third is it reduces the density, because the reduced density is because of swelling the volume increases, keeping the weight remains the same. So weight by volume is density, so the volume goes on decreasing with the increased FSI value of different types of soils. So the significance is basically it gives an indication, or it is a leading answer to check whether the CBR value which is being tested and reported is accurate enough or not. If you are showing your CBR as 30% and for that particular soil, if you are showing your FSI as 60%, that means definitely something is going to be wrong there. The moment your CBR is more than 50%, the moment your FSI is more than 50%, CBR can never be more than 2 to 3%. Because if you see the black cotton soil under dry condition do have a CBR of 20%, whereas the moment it is being soaked in water, the CBR reduced to 1.5%. Because the black cotton soil is having a swelling index of more than 60, 70, sometimes close to 90 also. The more the FSI, the less is the CBR. So this is basically the quick recap of significance of free swelling index. And here we need to take up the third set of questions, which comes to my mind as a probable questions which can be asked in any highway related soil questions. What is the difference between the standard and the modified Proctor test? What are the controls required while testing the FSI of the soil? Why water and kerosenes are used in FSI test? Why black cotton soils are unsuitable soils for constructions? So the first question is, what is the difference between the standard and the modified Proctor test? The first difference which is there between the standard and the modified Proctor test is the weight of the rammer, that is 2.6 kgs for light compaction and 4.89 kgs for heavy compaction. Light compaction means it is a standard Proctor test, and heavy compaction means it is modified Proctor test. And in the standard compaction test, the number of layers used are 3, whereas in modified, the number of layers used are 5. We also called light compaction as a standard compaction and heavy compaction as a modified compaction. What are the controls required in testing of FSI? The weight of the soils depends on the type of the soil. Like if you have a bentonite, the weights could be more. If you have a normal soil, the weight required is only 5 grams. It only 10 grams. That means more the swelling properties are involved, less will be the sample of the soil which one has to take. So you have to be careful while testing the FSI, that whether you are testing the FSI for bentonite or you are testing the FSI for a sandy soil or a clayey soil or something like that. The samples kept in the distilled water and the kerosene shall be maintained in undisturbed conditions for 24 hours, and make sure that you must put a tag on the samples stating the details of the samples, such as the borrow area number if you have the number, the type of the soil if you have already done the gradation and you are able to classify the soil, the date of sampling, date of testing, and then of course on the date of results you can put down the date of reporting also. Salt can be used, as we have discussed earlier also. Salt can be used to get early results, or you want to expedite the result, but it cannot be a regular practice. Rather, I strongly recommend that we need to follow the standards which is being given, like 24 hours undisturbed condition, and then check after 24 hours what is the change in volume, and then calculate the change in volume accurately. So one more thing which is required is, while you are checking the volume, you must make sure that your eyesight is in line with the cross section of the soil and liquid junction, because the meniscus will give you the clear readings, and the initial readings and the final readings needs to be recorded carefully, because the difference will give you the change in volume. So especially in case of water, also in case of kerosene, it is always required to record the initial reading and the final readings very carefully to avoid any complications during the reporting of the results. In case of bentonites, always use 250 ml glass cylinders instead of 100 ml glass cylinders, which is generally used for all other types of soils, because the swelling of bentonite is high, and if you use smaller volume, it is quite possible that you will not be able to conduct the test properly. So these are the controls required in order to do the FSI test effectively. Why kerosene and water is used in FSI test is because kerosene is a nonpolar liquid which doesn't react with soil minerals present in clay soils like montmorillonite, whereas water reacts with the clay minerals fully and gives the best possible swelling. If you try to put soil in petrol, they have a tendency to vaporize in open atmosphere, and as you need to let the samples rest in atmosphere for 2 hours, hence petrol itself can't keep its original volume, so cannot be used. Putting in kerosene seizes the soil to grab any moisture from the atmosphere, which results in unaltered moisture content of the soil samples, and now we can compare this with the fully swelled soil resting in the cylinder for water. So that is the reason why kerosene is being used in the FSI test and not any other liquid. That is straight away because it is non-polar in nature. Next question is, why black cotton soils are unsuitable for road construction? In my opinion, BC soils are unsuitable for road construction just because it has a high swelling characteristics. Alternate wetting and drying creates large cracks due to shrinkage and results in damage of the structures constructed over it. If it is embankment, you can view wide cracks. If it is subgrade also, you can view wide cracks. So it will always have a unstable base when you are using the black cotton soils. But if the depth of the black cotton soil is more than say 3 meters, 4 meters, it is also not possible to remove 4-meter soil and construct a soil on the sound good soil. So in that case, now what is being practiced is you have to remove 2 layers, that is 500 millimeters from the natural ground level, and then roll it, compact it, try to achieve 90% of the compaction on the OGL, and then start building your road on top of it with good fresh material, which is having a MDD of 15.2 kilonewtons per meter for height less than 3 meters and 16 kilonewtons per meter for height more than 3 meters. To conclude, the hitting of bullseye is important as far as interviews are concerned, and each one of us believes that whenever we get the opportunity to attend an interview, we expect a positive result out of it. But in order to get the positive result, we need to put efforts, we need to prepare ourselves, we need to be confident, we need to be confident in expressing the answer for a particular question. It has to be specific. You need to use your intelligence in order to answer the questions so conveniently so that the leading questions will not trouble you much. You have to be vigilant because the moment you get a question, you also get a feel that if this is the answer, then what could be my leading questions corresponding to that. For example, the moment you say I need 95% compaction for embankment to approve or to pass an embankment layer, the possible questions could be, what if you are not getting a 95% compaction? That means you should be ready with that answer. And how do you ensure that you will get always 95% compaction? That could be second thing. Or the other leading questions can be many. So like you need to be prepared yourself. That is what is the people do practice when they go. People say that you have to prepare for the interview. That means you need to make sure that whatever you are trying to answer or trying to make your brain exercise, the leading questions must not trouble you much. Then sometimes even if you prepare the way you want to be, hopefully the interviews doesn't turn out to be moving in the direction in which you want to move it. So at that point of time you need to use your innovative ideas. You need to understand that yes, you are getting trapped in between, so quickly you have to rewind yourself and try to be more smart in answering the questions and an innovative idea, so that neither you are getting wrong nor you are getting correct. But of course you are giving them a logical answer with a logical reasoning, saying that yes, if this is not being done, then this could be the possible answers. Just to recollect my first interview, like in my first interview, I was asked, it was actually I was just passed out from the college, and the first question which I was answered is, what is the aggregate impact value? That is damn easy question for me. I could answer that very easily because I used to do a lot of practicals in the school, in the college. But the next question, what was the leading question was, what if you are not able to achieve that value? And that is where I think we get trouble, because that is where the experience comes into picture, and that is where you try to improve that the maturity level you have and the intelligence you have in order to answer those questions. So the point is, you have to be very careful while attending the interview, and you have to, even if you know everything, there's nothing wrong if you prepare once again to attend the interview just before, to make sure that your answers go in the direction in which you want to have. So to summarize this module, we talked about once again the definition of the interviews. the possible interview questions in highway engineering related to QA/QC department and specific to soil engineering. We have taken 3 sets of questions in soil engineering as per my understanding and as per my experience. And we always welcome you. If you have faced any different questions in your interviews and you are not able to answer those questions, do post those questions in the comment box. It will be well taken in the next module or the upcoming modules, and we would like to answer those questions or the probable answers for that particular questions. In the next module, the possible questions again will be covered in the quality department only, but more questions related to highway engineering in terms of aggregates or soil. So till then, tune in for more updates. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching.